the train is coming, and it's very loud. Wow. That started well. Ciao, I'm Mario, Swiss car guy on YouTube, and today I'm driving my 1964 Cadillac Coupe De Ville. And this is a little update video on the Cadillac because people were asking and I haven't really posted anything about the car recently, so here it is. So, what have I been up to with the Cadillac recently? And the answer to that is absolutely nothing. Well, actually, a bit less than nothing, because last time you saw the car I had disassembled most of the dashboard, and now I've put the instrument cluster back in, I've put all the lower cladding back in and the top cover, so everything is back together. Even the clock is in there, and dare I say, it's showing the correct time, it is working. And I put it all together because I wanted to start driving and enjoying the car, knowing that I won't be working on this car anytime soon. You see, I've taken the dash apart to see what lurks behind, and I've done that, but I am yet to order the parts for the air conditioning. Indeed, the only parts I have ordered are rubber parts. Yes, I bought the seals for the windows, for the doors, hood seals, window seals, windscreen seals. I bought basically every rubber part that made sense to me, and that cost me, I think, over $1,500, but I have yet to receive them because, well, it's a big order, not everything was in stock. So yeah, no work for me at the time, because you see, my goal with the car, the first thing is I want to be able to drive it somewhat comfortably, and that means that I want to get rid of wind noises and everything when the doors are closed. The doors, I mean the windows, when the windows are closed, and for that I need to make sure the seals are all good, and I need to make sure that the windows close all the way, and I haven't disassembled the door cards yet. This is probably the next job I will do. But I have basically reached a point with the Cadillac where I'm overwhelmed. You see, when you start a project and you think you have a few things to do, and then you realize you have about 10 times as many things to do, and in the first moment that's a bit overwhelming, and that's why I stop for a moment, because I don't want to start hating the car. I want to still like the car, I want to still enjoy the car. This is why I put it together. And today I spent most of the afternoon cleaning the inside, and more specifically cleaning the leather seats. And I feel almost ashamed because I've spent a lot of time cleaning the seats and they still sort of look the same as before. I mean, they are old, obviously they will never look like new, but I thought they would turn out a bit better, even though I got a lot of dirt out of the seats. The thing with these seats is that everywhere in the interior, but especially on this front bench, there are randomly some blue streaks and blue dots. And first I thought, well, this must be jeans, like what you get from the jeans, but usually that stuff you can clean it off. I cannot clean it off. And given that it's only randomly placed and not like everywhere, I reckon that this is actually from when the car was painted the previous time. Because if you remember, this car used to be blue and it was painted very sloppily. So I reckon that whoever painted this car also made sure that some paint got onto the seats. So I have to figure out a way to get rid of the paint. And I have a few products that I can use, but I haven't got them here and I haven't tried it yet. So that's that. But anyway, I have to say the smell is much nicer in the car, and the towels I used, they turned out very, very dark, so I got a lot of dirt out. It's just not that visible. But I also have to say, I then treated the seats with a leather conditioner. I use Voodoo Blend, and now they are nice and slippery, which I like. Oh, and in the meantime, I repainted the sun visors, because if you notice them, they are a bit whiter than the rest of the headliner, and that's because I painted them with like leather and vinyl color, and I think they came out really nice. But now the rest of the headliner, of course, doesn't look very good in comparison. There are push buttons, I think. And these are for the mirror, because it has push buttons on the back that go into there. So you should just push on. It should be easy, right? This should be equidistant, and it isn't. That's very strange, because there is not much for anything you can adjust, really. Oh wow, these buttons are actually not aligned. Okay, so this cannot go in straight. So it doesn't really matter which way I put it in, it will always stay crooked. But I will put in a bit of double-sided tape, just to make sure it doesn't vibrate and it doesn't fling out at some point. So if I ever manage to unwind this roll of tape. This is in now, and nothing is rattling, and it seems to be holding, and I got all the rest of stuff here. So, okay. And this is one revised sun visor that I now have to clean again because it's full of fingerprints. Okay, time to put the holder back on, and for this, the screw needs to come out first. And I greased it up already. It has a little plastic bushing inside of here, and I actually got a replacement kit for those when I ordered the little cap that goes on the other end. But these bushings, they are present, and therefore they are still good. So I'm not going to replace them, and I'm keeping the other ones as spare. But this thing needs to go back on, and I first have to figure out which way it is. And I reckon it's this way. And then we just tighten it a bit, so it gets a bit tighter and doesn't flop about. This might be not enough. Oh, and now it's nice and tight, and it will stay in place. So, this is on. This is the way it will stay when it's closed. Yes. I even labeled it the passenger side, even though both are exactly the same. But I wanted to make sure the right one goes back in the right place. And then we can put on the little cap made of rubber back here. The plastic cap goes back on. And the sun visor is done. Except it needs to be clean. Otherwise, it's done. The glass needs to be cleaned. The rest is freshly painted, and it doesn't seem to be wearing off. Because actually the paint I use is a paint that you could use on seats and stuff like that. So on a sun visor it should hold forever. And I actually considered painting the entire headliner with this vinyl color because it was quite good. I mean, I like the result, and also it doesn't come out in the hand, so I'm very happy with it. However, painting the entire headliner is kind of a lot of work, and also my headliner is the problem that it's very brittle, so it will break, it will fall to pieces. And I've seen that headliners do not cost that much money. So I might just buy a new headliner. And yes, I know installing headliners can be a lot of pain, but I think the advantage in this car is the headliner is made of vinyl. So it's not like, you know, if you have a fabric headliner where, oh no, you touch it, you put stains on it, you never get them off. It's vinyl, basically. Even if you get some stains during the install, you just clean it off. It's not a problem. So this is a job I might do at some point. And probably when I do this, I will also have the rear glass taken out, the rear window, and the seal replaced, because I know the seal is cracked and I need to have it replaced. And I'm not comfortable taking out the glass myself, especially because if I break it, then, well, where am I gonna get a replacement? Yeah, this is why I wanna have professionals do it. Oh, and I think last time you saw the car, I complained that there was something wrong with the carburetor, that it was running way too rich. And I think I solved that. But it wasn't really anything wrong with the carburetor, but rather with the throttle, which I know is part of the carburetor. But the thing is, the throttle, because the springs, they were not tensioned enough, it would never fully close. And if the throttle never fully closes, then even if you adjust the idle and everything, you get too much fuel into the carburetor and then the car runs rich. So I've just changed the position of the bracket, I increase the distance and therefore the tensions on the spring, and now the throttle will close, and then I readjusted the idle and now it idles good. Now the car idles and runs well. It still has some problems cold starting, but I think this is mainly to do with the fact that it is a carbureted car. And another train is passing by. And not only is it a carbureted car, it also basically doesn't have a properly adjusted choke. I mean, there is this manual choke, but it's not adjusted. It only closes fully, and I have yet to figure out how to adjust a choke, especially a manual one. And right now I just start the car with a bit of gas and with a bit of choke, and it starts all right. But then again, I don't know what I can expect from a carbureted engine from the 60s, how smooth it's supposed to run when it's cold. But right now I think it's running well. The only issue I have is I reckon the car uses way too much fuel. Because since I have the car, I have driven about, I reckon, 200 kilometers in it, and I'm about to finish my second tank of fuel. So that would be like almost 200 liters in 200 kilometers. And 100 liters in 100 kilometers definitely is a bit much. Then again, I have to say I haven't driven the car a lot since I've adjusted the carburetor. Maybe that fixed the excessive fuel consumption. Maybe also my gauge isn't all that correct. Or the other thing is that I think is likely my car might be leaking fuel. Because also it does smell a bit of fuel, right? Not right now, but usually when you approach it, maybe it's just because it's an old carbureted car, maybe it's leaking fuel. The thing is, I don't know it because this is the first carbureted car I've ever owned. So if you know anything about that, please comment down below. All the help is appreciated. But I think that's it for an update from the old Cadillac. So don't expect too much from the car. Right now I am good, I am driving it, I am kind of enjoying it. I have to address the headlights because I am now 100% sure that it's the high beam switch, because after I've used the high beam switch a couple of times, then the headlights start to make their own game. They start to turn on and turn off and not be reliable anymore, which isn't a problem as long as I don't use the high beam switch, but still it's not exactly what I would want. I still need to address this before I can take this car on a serious drive, before I can drive it at night. So I will address the high beam switch. I have to order a new one, obviously. I will also put in relays for the lights because why not? And yeah, this will happen at some time, But right now, I'm most likely not going to do a lot of work on the car because I want to start driving it. I want to start taking it to, you know, car meets and stuff like that. And also I am running out of time, out of free time to do all this work, because right now I'm actually on holidays, so I have nothing to do. I originally thought I would take 2 weeks of holidays. I would do all these works on the car that I wanted to do, but then I didn't even get around to order the parts, so I've ended up doing absolutely nothing. Which I think is also good for holidays, right? You can't always be working. Also, my blinkers are not working correctly because sometimes they just stay lit, sometimes both flash at the same time. So I have to address that as well. I guess it has to do with maybe the stalk, maybe the relay. It works through a relay, I believe. So yeah. Again, another thing about this car. Man, I actually really like the way this car sounds. Oh, actually, one thing I did to the car, and this again I think shows my priorities, I've replaced the radio. Because my car, when I got it, had a Retro Sound Model 1 aftermarket stereo, and yeah, I kind of wanted a stereo with built-in Bluetooth, so I bought cheap on eBay, I think I spent like 200 bucks, a Retro Sound Model 2, and replaced it because they are like for like the same size, so I could replace everything. I could use the same buttons, and now I got Bluetooth in the car and even a little microphone here for my hands-free phone. And if you remember it, when I originally took the dash apart, there was like one 13 centimeter speaker instead of that 4x10 speaker that is supposed to be in place in these cars. And I also bought a speaker that actually fits the place. I think a Retro Sound 410N or what it costs. It cost me like 100 bucks, and now the sound is slightly better, but only very slightly. Yeah, because I think this car will never be hi-fi territory, but I'm thinking of also putting in a little subwoofer, not because I want to have like bass orgies or anything, but the single speaker I have in the car, well, it almost doesn't have any lows at all. Not even talking about bass, I'm just saying lows. And if I added one of those small, you know, under-seat subwoofers or something like that, I think I could improve the sound quality quite a bit. And since I am all about sound quality apparently, I am most likely going to do that as well, because the new radio I have, the Retro Sound Model 2, actually also has a subwoofer out that you can adjust the crossover and stuff like that. So it kind of makes sense. So I will do that most likely. But I will also do all the other more important stuff. But first I have to order parts and then they have to arrive. But anyway, that's all I have for you. I just wanted to give you a little update from the Cadillac. And if you want to stay up to date on the Cadillac, please consider following me on Instagram, even though I don't think I've ever posted anything on Instagram about this car. Or anyway, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel so you will see future updates on the car. But that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching and have a nice day. Wow, the coffee is really nice actually.